Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I always like to start out by saying thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. And this does not just extend to the people who are watching it on my YouTube channel. This extends to you who are listening to it on Anchor.fm, Spotify, or maybe Google Podcast or some other podcast streaming service. I like to say thank you because it's the polite thing to do, and I am a polite motherfucker. It would just be rude to say, well, I'm glad you watched, but go fuck yourself. That would be rude. I'm not a rude person. I say inappropriate things sometimes, but it's not an attempt to be rude. It's just who I am. And today I want to know about the weirdest job you've ever had. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a strange job or an unusual job, but just a job that would seem weird to a lot of people. Most of my life I spent, before I became an English teacher here in Cambodia, I spent most of my life in factories. Factory work is not a weird job. Back where I come from, that's like 90% of the people back there are employed by some kind of factory job. Making parts for things, repetitive work, very non-creative, very same all the time. It's boring. It's monotonous. They come up with all these rules for you. It's horrible. But it's not weird, because a lot of people do it. I would have to say my weirdest job was for the 4 years I drove a taxi. Now, I drove a taxi in a town that we didn't do the flag downs. That was a no-no. We were told that in training. And by the way, our training was simply like, do you have a driver's license? Yes. Do you have a criminal background? No? Okay, we'll take your word for it. They're not going to bother to check. That was a criteria. And then you could drive a taxi. Yay. My taxi company, you weren't allowed to do pickups because it wasn't a big city. It wasn't a huge town like New York or, California somewhere, or Los Angeles or somewhere. It was just a small little town, and they had to call the cab company and request a pickup at a certain location. Now, your training involved going out with a taxi driver who had been doing this for a while and learning from him or her. The problem with that training was that most of the taxi drivers I knew in my town were drug addicts, alcoholics, or people who just didn't give a shit about their lives. So it's not really a technical kind of situation. I'd be going out with people and they would be telling me what not to do, because they would be like, I'm going to go pick up this guy, even though I know I shouldn't. He's already ripped off a couple drivers. But there's a chance he might pay me. Now, you shouldn't do that, but let's go. I'd be like, oh, shit. But that was my training. But the job was weird because I worked 3 in the afternoon until 3 o'clock in the morning. I drove what they call the night shift. Each cab was assigned 2 drivers during a 24-hour period. There was a day shift, 3 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then the night shift, 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. And I liked that shift because after 8 o'clock, things got nuts. You could absolutely make a lot of money if you played it right during that time. And during the day, it was a lot safer. It was. You had a lot of repeat customers going to work, coming back from work, little old ladies with their social security checks going to the store at a certain time every month or every day or every week, whatever it was. But it wasn't as exciting, and it wasn't as profitable, I don't think. If you would compare and everybody said this, even the day drivers knew that if you compared how much money was made between the night and the day drivers, it was a big difference. Because it was not uncommon at night to pick up a drunk at a bar right before it closed at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he would pass out in the back of your cab. You get him to his destination, you got to kind of slap him around, you got to wake him up, maybe help him to his front door if you were a nice guy, or let him fall down in the mud. As long as he was out of your cab, just fucking take off if he paid you. But it was very common for them to just lose shit in the back of your cab. So before your shift ended, before you gassed up and did your mileage to make sure the next driver was good to go, not uncommon to find things like full bottles of alcohol, whole cans of beer, $20 bill here, $50 bill here, just fell out of his pocket. It's the nature of the beast. We are independent contractors. We didn't work for the company. We had to pay a cab fee, a rental fee for our shift. We also had to pay for a certain amount for every mile we drove in our cab during our shift. And at the end of the night, pay for our own gas. Everything after those three things was ours to keep. And it was a pretty good system, because it stopped people from just using their cab to just go visit their girlfriend 200 miles away for a shift or whatever the fuck it was, because they would have to pay for all that. But it was great because we would often pick up in areas of town. The town I grew up in, the town I lived in for most of my life, that was there were certain sections that were notoriously dangerous. Like there were a lot of night drivers that wouldn't go into the what we call the projects in my town. The projects. They wouldn't go in there after dark. Before dark, they would go pick up a fare or two, but after dark, they were just like, no, I won't do it. I was always the guy, I would just do it. I don't care. People are people. You know, people do get robbed in this business. I was lucky in my 4 years, I never once got robbed. I didn't get mugged. I didn't get beat up. I did have runoffs. Like, you get to the destination and the guy's just waiting. As soon as you stop, he pulls open the door and just takes off, leaving the door open. And you're just like, fuck, he didn't pay me my $5 or something. But that's minor compared to some of the other stories that happened. But I was always aware of my surroundings. And one of the things you learn is to never pick up somebody. And if you get an address, you go in front of that address and you see it's completely dark and there's some strange guy coming out from behind the house waving like, that's my cab, I called. Yeah, you take off. So you don't put yourself at unnecessary risk. But a lot of guys did. Then a lot of guys paid the price by being robbed, being beat up, having all their money stolen. Nothing you can do about it. I mean, you can call the police, you make the police report, and they'll go investigate, but it's not a priority. You didn't die, so the chances of them actually catching the guy are very, very slim. But the night shift was also a great way to get a blowjob, maybe a hand job, maybe even get laid. I'm telling you, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're picking up some drunk chick from a bar. She doesn't know any better. She's had no look inside. All the guys are dog. You're being nice to her. And next thing you know, that's right. She's paying you double. She's paying for her fare. And then you can pay her back by giving her a wet nap to clean up the mess she made with her hand on the way home. If you know what I mean. But I've actually had things like that almost happen. Like the chicks would just get into the car sometimes and say, And they would just be straightforward. They'd be like, listen, I need to go here. I know it's going to cost about $3 because everybody always has a, they go to the same places. They know how much it's going to cost. But I don't have it. But on the way there, I'll give you a hand job. How about that? Hey, looks like this is working out for one of us. Because that's not going to put food on my table. And I have morals. And I'm not going to take advantage of a young lady because of lack of money. Yeah, I did. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't. I know you want to hear I did, but I didn't. I've given a lot of free rides in my 4 years to women like that, They didn't have the money. Or they didn't have all the money, and I was just like, The fare came to $5. They had $3. Yeah, go ahead. But that was probably the weirdest job I had because you never knew who you were going to pick up next. You never knew who was going to get in. You never knew what was going to happen. I mean, you get people that want to go from one town to another town, a town about a 45-minute drive away. And it's a set price once you leave our area at our cab company. Like if you wanted to go from Muskegon, Michigan to Grand Rapids, Michigan, it was a flat fee of like $80. You had to pay $80. It didn't matter if you were just going right to the city limits or anything else. We didn't use the meter in those instances. They were told when they called, it's going to cost you this much. And that was it. And when you did that, it was always an upfront thing. Like, no, you have to pay me now. Because there were a lot of people who were like, no, man, when I get there, we get to the house, my friend, he'll come out, he'll pay you. Yeah, fuck you. I'm not going to be left holding that bag. That's a lot of gas. That's a lot of mileage. And I'm not going to make any profit if you choose not to do it. One of the weirdest things that ever happened was I picked up a lady from the airport in Muskegon, Michigan. She was flying in. An old lady. She was an older black lady from Los Angeles. She had flown in from Los Angeles. And she said she wanted to go to a town, and the town from the airport was a flat rate of $150. That was it. And of course, like I said, when they call the cab company confirms that they have the money, that it's okay. So when she got in, I said, that's going to be $150. She'll go, oh, I'll pay you when I get there, sweetheart. Can we just get going? I mean, it was an old lady. I've always had this, I don't try to get suckered a lot, but I was an old lady. So we get driving, and the more we're driving, we start talking. She starts acting a little crazy. She's like, well, how much is this going to cost? And I was like, whoa, we already you went through this with the dispatcher you called. I've already told you at the airport. I said $150. She goes, oh my God, you don't even have your meter on. How do you know it's going to be $150? And I'm like, no, it's a flat rate. You're going from this city to this city. It's a flat rate. And she started getting very irate, very agitated. She started calling me a bunch of names. And she's sitting right behind me, And I'm just like, hey, I'm trying to calm down the situation. I'm trying to de-escalate. I'm like, no, yo, listen. That was the rate you agreed upon with the dispatcher. That's what I told you back at the airport. You didn't tell me shit at the airport. You didn't say anything to me. Who's got $150? I'm trying to get to my grandkids. And I'm like, well, I understand, but this is what it is. And then she started punching the back seat. An old lady, seriously, punching the back seat. And we got about a little bit more than halfway there. So it was already a lot of gas money and a lot of fare money involved. And she just blew her lid, and she just started cussing me out and telling me, look, I'm from Los Angeles. I tell you right now, I got a gun in my purse. You better do it for $20 or I'm going to shoot you in the head. And I was like, whoa. I stopped into a gas station. I jumped out, the first gas station I saw. And she jumped out, and she was cussing at me, following me and yelling at me, talking about she had a gun. And the attendants came out of the gas station, and And I explained, I was like, listen, I'm a cab driver, blah, blah, blah. Here's the situation. Now she's threatening to kill me. I just need the police. I just need the police here. I just want my money, and then I'm going home. Tell her it's a little bit over halfway, $75. Call it even. Well, the police came. She didn't have any money. She didn't have any contact information for her grandkids she was going to see. Anything like that. So I don't know what was going on, but it was very bad. The only thing they could do is take her into custody, get my information. Then I had to drive all the way back in shame, and I was pissed. I remember being pissed because I didn't get paid. And luckily, they knew I was pissed. As soon as I got back within radio range, because they always had the CB type radios, and the thing. As soon as I got back in, I was like, hey, this is driver 36. That was my driver number. And I just took that old lady and I told him what happened, and I said, I'm not going to eat this. I am not going to eat my gas money. I'm not going to eat my profit on this. I said, I'm not going to pay it. And they knew I was serious because I was really pissed. And when I got back, the dispatcher was like, he was like, listen, calm down, Dave. Calm down. Listen, here's what we're going to do, okay? You put the gas in from a normal night. Company, fill it up, but get the receipt. The company will give you the money for the rest. We can't give you any money for the fare because that's not on us, but don't worry about the mileage. And I was like, okay. So I finished the rest of my shift, did that, and they were true to their word. They only charged me, for my regular amount of gas, what I would have paid, because there's usually a certain amount. And they didn't charge me for any of that mileage, which I had written down before and after in a little notebook I carried. So that I had proof in case somebody said, you didn't go this far. I always did that. So yeah, things can get a little crazy, man. You got a nice little old lady, going to see her grandkids. Oh, how cute. And all of a sudden she's threatening to shoot me in the fucking head. Yeah, don't trust anybody, I guess. So yeah, I would say driving a cab was the weirdest job I had because of situations like that. Because of the how desperate some people are to get from point A to point B, where they would look at me and go, I'll suck your dick for a $3 cab fare. It's like, no, that's crazy. Stop. And I know a lot of you are going to be saying, oh, come on, you did it at least once or twice. But I promise you I did not. I never took advantage of people because of their poverty or because they couldn't pay. I did a lot of favors for people in that job. I took a lot of people places that would have normally been $6, $7. They had $2. I just said, I'll take the $2, took them to their job. I know they're making minimum wage, and hey, I'm not trying to bust anybody, because there was enough good people who would leave you tips and be kind to you, so it usually worked out. I mean, our nut, as we call it, was about $85 to $90 a night for the cab fare, or for the cab fee that you had to pay as a driver, your gas, and your mileage. Generally speaking, on a typical night, $85. So you start counting your money and realize, okay, I'm already up to 150 minus 85. I can hang out for a couple more hours, or you can choose to go home, whatever, But it was a fun job. There was never a dull night hanging out at 2 o'clock in the morning, picking up drunks from a bar. You got a lot of interesting characters. And it's an experience I'll never forget, but also one I would never do again, because there have been some horrific things that happened to some people since I left. And one guy, he was instructed to drive through a cemetery because this guy was crying. His passenger was crying, saying, man, I just miss my mama so much. I just want to visit her grave 3 o'clock in the morning, right? I just want to visit her grave. And he just had that compassion, He went out there, and the guy held him up at gunpoint, made him get into the back of his own trunk, his own cab trunk, and then tried to steal the cab. But of course, luckily, when they didn't hear from him, they called the police. The police got together. They had the cab, license plate number and the cab number, and they pulled him over. Luckily, the driver was okay. Just he was really scared, obviously, very traumatized, but physically okay. Just another nutcase. So yeah, if you've had any experience with a weird type job or dealing with weird people at a job, let me know in the comments below. I'd like to hear them. And if you don't mind, I'll put them on a future podcast. That's all I wanted to say. Again, thank you for watching. And be sure to check out all my links down below. Help out a poor old man who almost got robbed in a taxi by donating at my PayPal. Or download a live show app. The link's down below for that, and listen to another comedian. You'll find some of your favorite comedians there, I promise. They're very funny people. Also, check out my older channel, Dave Does Cambodia. It's more serious. It's family friendly. And more oriented just toward my life here and what's happening. But you might enjoy it. And plus, you don't have to look at my face on that channel because I do walk and talks where I just give you my point of view. My face isn't even in there. Lucky bastards. All right, I will talk to you guys in the next one. Senglai, do you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Louder.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.